Shalom everyone and Chodesh Tov. We are in the month of Taurus, the month of Iyar in Hebrew. Taurus in Hebrew is Shor, okay? That's like it's from, I think it's somehow migrated from Aramaic because the Shin and the Taf are replacing. In Aramaic, Shor in Aramaic is Taurus. So we are in the month of Taurus, and we'll see how important is this month because many symbols connected to this month, especially the symbols of enlightenment. And we'll see how it's connected. So the first thing, we know about it, the way we calculate the attributes of any zodiac sign, we have Kabbalistically. First, we calculating all the elements connected to that sign according to the Tetragrammaton and the structure of the Hebrew calendar. Okay, so what do we have over here? We realize, and we learn all the time, that 4 seasons are basically aligned with the Tetragrammaton, while the spring is representing, or it's a physical representation of the Hebrew letter Yud, which is a representation of the Sephirah of Chokhmah, which is fire, the element of fire, basically energy, creativity, power. That's Chokhmah, that's the spring. Okay, the summer is the letter Hey, which is Binah. The element is water. So when you learn Kabbalistic structures of the universe, you realize that everything in the physical world, in the level of physical dimensions of whatever is tangible, and also in the level of the dimension of time, everything is basically branches of the roots, which are spiritual forces. This is the basic understanding of Kabbalah, and that's why the whole world is a very sophisticated computer program. That's how the Kabbalists see our world. It's a very sophisticated computer program. It's a thought. It's a program, and it has a beginning, it has an end, and it has a target. Like any program, nobody writes a program without a target for it, without a goal. So what is the goal? The goal is to give us, humanity, the background or the arena or the playground so we can process our tikkun. What does it mean, tikkun? Correcting ourselves. And why the astrological system is about correcting ourselves? Because first of all, the astrological forces around us, they force us to change. They force us to react. They force us not to stay awake because everything is shifting and changing and moving and transforming around us like a huge kaleidoscope, that we live in that kaleidoscope and we are being affected all the time. And because of that, we do not fall asleep most of the time. And we have always forces, waves, energies, changes that make us want to change if you want to be comfortable, because we are programmed to want to look for comfort, for the comfort zone. The problem is the world is not staying the same and is not comfortable. So the world is changing. We need to change in order to stay in the comfort zone. So when we're looking at every month, first of all, we're looking at the season. And here we see that Taurus is the second month of the spring. Second, that's its name, by the way, in the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Over there, the only name you have for the month of Taurus is the second month. Why? The first month is Nisan, Aries. The second month is Iyar, Taurus, but it's called in the 5 books of Moses only the second month. There's no other name. Later on, in the book of Kings, we realize that there is another name for it that people used to in ancient Hebrew. It was Yerach Ziv, the month of Ziv. We're going to take care about it later on. Okay, but the biblical name, the second month. What's special about the second month? Here we see that the spring, first of all, is representing the letter Yud in the Tetragrammaton, which is Sfirat Chokhmah. And Sfirat Chokhmah, whoever learns Kabbalah knows, Chokhmah means energy, concentrated, pure source energy. This is connecting to the power station. And therefore, all three signs of the spring, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, are fire signs in the core, and therefore all three are very, very energetic, very powerful, and they can't stand when things are kind of laid back and parved. No, they don't. You know, they say the Taurus are lazy. They're not really lazy. They simply don't like to waste energy on something that has nothing to come out of it. But if you see a Taurus, when you convince a Torah that something is really something can give him a lot of profit or gains, you can't stand on their way, because you know a running bull, it's very dangerous to stand in their way, and therefore it says that in the Torah itself, lo tachsom shor b'disho. You'll never muzzle a bull when he grinds the wheat, in order to separate the grains from the hay. Now what? But it's a meaning. It's a sentence that says when a Taurus is setting already a target and is running at it, don't ever try to stand on his way, because that's not going to be that comfortable when a full speed ox is goring you on his speed and you try to stand in his way. So Gemini also, they're very, very powerful, very energetic. They can't stand boring situations. They are not dangerous like Taurus, forget it, okay? Because they are air, they're not earth. It's a different story. So now what are the ingredients of the Taurus? So we see it's Chokhmah, the light of wisdom, which means very intense energy, okay? Fire, which means creativity, but also we know Kabbalistically that the left column means selfishness. All three signs, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, have a huge risk of being so self-centered, so they don't really care for anyone, because they're so selfish. So they are the only existing humans in the world, and there are many. Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, all three have huge risk, because fire, left column, it's all about taking and taking. Because the moment the fire stops taking, it dies. So they need to take in order to live. They need to grab, to take, to consume, to generate, to do, and to have. So each one of them in a different level. Aries, it's about, creativity and fights and wars, and so, because it's also affected from Mars, and so on and so forth. And giving, because there's a right column, the right column is giving. But Taurus, it is a fire, and it's a left column of fire. So you have double left column, double judgment, very, very, very dangerous. That's why Taurus could really be notoriously famous for their selfishness, their materialism, their like focusing on only themselves and what belongs to them. Big danger. And they're also on the earth side. That makes it even worse than that. So if a Taurus is not spiritual, that's a disaster, terrible disaster. They could be like the worst kind of people you don't want to mess up with. Okay? Now, what's lucky about it, because there's so much energy over there, that power many times do not allow them to rest on their laurels, and it pushes them because, you know, we're talking about very explosive energy, very explosive material. Fire, earth, that's very explosive. The energy over there is very intense. And when you're dealing with so much intense energy and you're not dealing with it correctly, that is explosive. And that's why most Tauruses do not have a comfortable, easy, nice life, although they want it so much. Why? When you're dealing with so much power, with so much energy, and you're not dealing with it correctly, it's explosive. What does it mean to deal with this correctly? We have to go to one of the most important rules in the creation. In the creation, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And then he said, let there be light. And it's all about light. We all creatures that yearn and ask for light. You know what? We all, Taurus, even more than that, we're going to see. They're built for that. It's all about desiring light and pleasure and fulfillment like nobody else. But what's the problem? Because we were created in the image of God, it's not just that we want the light of God, we were created to want and enjoy the light of the Creator. Because if the Creator is emanating endless light, somebody has to consume that light. Okay? And that's us, humanity. We were created first and for all to receive the light, to be the consumers. So we have the nature of consuming. However, having the image of God, why? Because He is our Father, He's our Creator. So we were created in His image because He is the source, we are just the branches. So we learn many, many times that being part of the image of God, that must include three components. One is creativity, because God is the source of all creation. So people are not creative. They'll never be happy because they will never connect it to their own essence. And people, I think that no one ever met lazy bums who are happy. Doesn't happen. The only really happy people you see they are creative, but it's not enough to be creative. There are also very creative people who are very dangerous and have terrible life. Why? Because it needs to be also the other component of the three. The first is creativity. The second is independence, because God doesn't need anybody to tell him what to do, because he's God, he's the creator. We can stand when we are being forced by some other powers to do what we don't like to do or what we think we like to do. We need to be independent, which means being dependent, being addicted to what people say, to money, to materialism, to even to what, even to drugs, alcohol, anything, any kind of addiction is getting us out of the image of God. He can't find dependent, happy people. So we said two components, creativity, and the second is independence, which means no addiction whatsoever. And the third one is sharing. You need to have that component. If you have only two of the three components, you're not really a creator, and your whole life will collapse sooner or later because you're missing that component. Okay? Now, this is very hard for Taurus. On one hand, they're very creative. You have double fire. They're very independent, double fire and earth. The problem is to find Taurus who are generous and giving and caring and sharing. that is many times hard to find it, and because of that, they suffer a lot. Why? Because they go against the rules of the universe. Uh, why would they be generous? Because spiritual Taurus would be very generous, and we'll see why. Okay, so we already learned about some of the components of the Taurus. Very creative, very greedy about having everything, and very full of energy, which means they know how to generate energy, whatever energy is about. Uh, is it money? Is it art? Is it? It's all there. Okay, as we said. But if they don't have the spiritual component, that is explosive, and you'll see many Tauruses going through like explosions once after another, time after another in their lives, because you want to connect to the core. You know, you're connecting to the Yud, to the Chokhmah, to the source of power, and you're not connecting it properly according to the rules of the grid, it's explosive, it's very dangerous. Okay, so now that we have the basic of what the Taurus is about, now we can continue. Okay, what else do we know about the Taurus? So we have here the symbol, like the concentration of the symbols of what Taurus is about, some of the symbols. So we see over here the letters of the month, which is the letter P, which is connected to planet Venus. It's a letter that created the power that Venus is a symbol of. Okay, and remember, Venus is not the real name. The real name is Noga. We'll talk about it later. Okay, because Venus, when we're talking about Venus, we're talking about something that is, how do you call it? It's not the Hebrew, it's a Greek, Roman tradition, nothing to do with us. So we don't want to talk to it. But one thing we know about, there's some, you know, in every lie, there's some nuclei of truth. Venus is the goddess of love. So there is a connection between Venus, Noga, and love, and we'll see later on. And that you can find, that is symbolized by the Hebrew letter Pei. That will come to it later. Also, the Hebrew letter Vav, that's for the month of Taurus, the month of the sign of Shor, Taurus. That's the letter Vav, which is amazing because the letter Vav is a very important letter. Whoever studies the letters of the Hebrew letters according to the Zohar, the letter Vav is the connection between heaven and earth. And we know that when Taurus are spiritual, it's the connection between heaven and earth is amazing, and we see it. And here we have, I'm just counting all of these symbols, but I'm going to go to each one of them in detail. You have also the Tetragrammaton in the sequence that belongs to the month of Iyar, Taurus, Yud, Hey, Hey, and Vav. As we learn in every month, the Tikkunei Zohar, the Zohar, you know, the Zohar is a big body of knowledge that a lot of it was lost and we didn't merit to have it. But part of the Zohar that is being revealed is called Tikkunei Zohar, which is 70 chapters that are 70 interpretations of the word Bereshit, the first word of the Torah. Okay, which, you know, if you don't really understand Hebrew, you think it means in the beginning. That's one of the meaning. 70 chapters, each one has another explanation of the word Bereshit. In one of them, in the first one, the introduction, the Zohar, the Tikkunei Zohar says that the Tetragrammaton has 12 possible, mathematically, permutations. Each one of them is the sequence of the frequency of one of the 12 months of the zodiac. If you take the Tetragrammaton, which as you make different permutations, You know, the Hebrew letters are numbers, but different than the numbers that we count with. Then the numbers of the Hebrew letters do not change by the order of the letters. So whatever order of the letters is, the number stays always 26. The numerical value of every permutation, 26. We have 12 different permutations. 12 times 26, you get 312. 312, this is gematria of the word chodesh, a month. But in Hebrew, the word chodesh does not come from the word moon. That's one, that's yerach. But chodesh comes from the source chadash, new. What does it mean? That every month there's a new renewal of energy, which means it's another opportunity for a tikkun, for growth, for spiritual advancement. And that's how the Hebrew calendar looks at the months. It's as an opportunity to become a better person under the new circumstances and uh, uh, the new challenges that we are getting every month. So the word is chadash. Chodesh is the same. Chadash means new. Chodesh means a month. You write them in Hebrew exactly the same. Chet, Dalet, Shin. And the number of Chodesh and Chadash is 312, which is 26 times or 12 times 26. So basically, that's so we understand that the Tetragrammaton, which is the symbol of the flow of the light of the creation and the creator into our physical dimension, it has shifts like a kaleidoscope, and it is changing every month, really changing every minute. But the big shifts are happening in a new moon, okay? And that gives us another challenge to move forward using that special energy that appears, and it's new. What does it mean new? Last year we had already the month of Iyar and Taurus. Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal, the great Kabbalist of the 16th century, he said, you know, there are not 2 minutes in the history of humanity that are the same. Yes, planet Earth comes back to the same place every month relatively to the sun. But now we know that the sun is moving very fast in the galaxy and in the galaxy of the Milky Way. So the sun never stays in the same place. So the planet Earth never stays in the same place. And yes, the sun is running very much forward, very fast, and we just following in a spiral. So we never come back to the same point because the whole celestial structure is changing very fast every second. So there will never be, you know, the Taurus of last year will never repeat itself because the Taurus of this year will always be different in a way. So it's the Taurus of 5781. 5781 is not 5780 because every year there's a shift in the universe. It's another sphera, another illumination, another opportunity to reveal spiritual light. We have to pray all the time not to miss those opportunities. Okay, so what is the meaning that we can derive from that permutation Yud K K Vav? And this one is amazing. It's awesome. I'm reading now, as usual, from the Bnei Sachar. Bnei Sachar was written some time along the 19th century in Eastern Europe by Rabbi Tzvi Elimelech of Dino, who was a great Hasidic sage, and he made an anthology of all the astrological mentioning in the Jewish scriptures along the generations till his time, that are discussing anything that of value with the astrological sign that we're dealing with. So when he's saying, relating to that permutation, he's starting, צירוף הוויה השולט בחודש הזה, י' כ' כ' ו', the permutation of the tetragrammaton that is ruling in this month, which means this is the frequency that is ruling in the universe in this month. יוצא מפסוק בראשי תיבות. The Tikkunei Zohar also mentions for each permutation which verse in the 24 books of the Tanakh, which verse is symbolizing these four letters by the first letter of each word or the last letter of each word. In this case, it is a verse from Jeremiah 9:23. Yitalel hamitalel haskel v'yadua. Yitalel starts with a yud. Hamitalel starts with a hey, the second letter. Haskel starts with a hey. V'yadua with a vav, you have yud k k vav. What does that mean? It means it speaks about the person who's really praising God is the person that his knowledge is growing upwards and it's rising. It's speaking about the uplifting of the knowledge and the understanding. Okay, it's hard to translate this, but it's about praising the glorious ability to rise in the consciousness and knowledge. Okay, now, so first of all, the words are very simple. There is some opening in the universe, it says the Zohar, that shows that we can connect to wisdom in this month more than in other months. There's no why. There's something that is very important for us to understand. We spoke before about the attributes of the Taurus, and we said it's left column fire, left column fire, and it's also an earth sign. Now the meaning of these three forces is receiving, because the left column and the left column, that's receiving. Okay, as we said, fire means consuming all the time, and earth means also receiving, because earth is Sfirat Malchut, whoever knows Kabbalah, and Sfirat Malchut derives its power from the left column. So when you have 3 times left column, it means huge desire to receive. Okay, in most religions, who are not when it's religion that is not spiritual, huge desire to receive, oh, they must be wrong. But if you study Kabbalah, you understand that if you don't have a desire to receive, you cannot receive God's light. And we were created to receive God's light. Not that just that it's not wrong to receive, it's very wrong not to receive. What's wrong about it is to receive for oneself alone. That's what makes it wrong. But not to receive anything, this is a felony. This is a disgrace, because that's the biggest chutzpah in the universe. Why? The Creator created us to receive. So the moment I'm saying I'm a religious person, and according to my religion, I'm not allowed to receive anything. The most spiritual person is a person who receives nothing. What a hoax. This is a lie. If we were created to receive, denying it for ourselves, denying our desire to receive, to subdue it, to suppress it, history teaches it always comes out wrong. Why? Sooner or later, suppression and subduing the desire to receive will turn into a huge explosion, a reaction of freedom. Why? Because that's not what we were created for. It's against our nature. Try to suppress. So the biggest thing in Judaism is not to suppress the desire to receive, but to transform it to a desire to receive for the sake of sharing. So there's nothing wrong of having a huge desire to receive. Why? Because if you want to manifest, every human being, the purpose of the creation, it means you must enjoy life in the utmost capacity. And how would you enjoy life if you don't have a desire to enjoy? Okay? What's the problem is that if you try to enjoy life selfishly, wow, you're going to suffer tremendous pain again and again and again. It's going to be high and by, high and by. You're going to look like, when the electric system is not wired properly, you turn on the light, flash and a crash, you change the bulb, flash and a crash, you change the bulb, flash and a crash. Something is wrong with the way the system is wired. It's nothing wrong with the light bulbs. And that is what we have to learn, especially in the month of Taurus. We must desire wisdom, pleasure, life, power. Okay, that's the message in the month of Taurus. However, it has to be, it must be, if you want to live, you don't want to risk your life, it must be with one condition. Whatever you want to receive, it has to be for the sake of sharing and caring. How? So we understand, so on one hand, the month of Taurus could be the most dangerous month of the year because so much power. If you don't understand it, you're in a risk. It's a danger zone. By the way, the month of Taurus is the only month that is totally included in the 49 days of the counting of the Omer. What's one, when you learn Judaism, you're not very much spiritual, but you just learn the rules. One of the major rules you learn about the counting of the Omer, it's a time that you lay low. No celebrations, no buying new clothes, no music, no, you just lay low. Why? It's explosive time. So much power. But does that mean that you have to be sad the whole time? No. You have to be really, really careful because you can't trust yourself, because everything can be ignited. The first 15 days, that's Aries. We know Aries is very explosive time. Okay? 15 days. Now comes the whole month of Taurus, and Taurus is also huge, very much explosive materials. Okay? Only a few days in Gemini. These days are already, like, most of the time is over. So it's not so dangerous. But the first era, like the first 45 days, forget it. You have to be so careful. It's so powerful. But it does not mean, like most religious people think, we have to be in the morning time because, the counting of the Omer, the students of Rabbi Akiva were killed. Hello, that happened 2,000 years ago. So many disasters happened since then. Why we're not having mourning for those disasters? No, it is a cover-up just to tell us this time is so powerful. We have to lay low to be very careful. So why? So what is the major point of this time? Is, first of all, we have to learn how to share. Now, how do you see that? Okay, let's go to the next thing. To show how powerful this month, we know that this is the month of light. How do you know it's a month of light? We already explained. If it's a left column of Earth, and Earth, it has the power to draw in light. And therefore, the Hebrew name of this month, Iyar, means the month of light. It's coming from the word or, light. It's a month of light. Okay? The biblical name in the book of Kings of this month is Iyar Ziv. Ziv in Hebrew is another word for light. Okay? There are no synonyms in Hebrew. So Ziv means another aspect of light. Okay? I'm not going to go into right now, but it's another name which is light. The planet that is the ruling planet for this month is called Venus, but in Hebrew it's called Noga. Noga in Hebrew is another word for light. Okay, so it's a planet of light. And we have one big celebration in this month, Lag BaOmer, the celebration of the day that Rabbi Shimon completed to deliver the main body of the Zohar. And Zohar in Hebrew means light. So we have 4 words that describe this month. All of them mean light. Why? If you want light, you need to have the ability to draw it and reveal it. So the 4 words that are most connected to this month, all of them mean light. This is the month of light. So what happens when you have so much light? You have to shield yourself somehow. You have to put some sunglasses. This is why during the counting of the Omer, we have to lay low, to be really careful. Why? You're dealing with so much power. When you're dealing with so much power, you need, give you an example. Somebody wants to go from one city to another. Okay, if you take your car, you just go into the car and you go on. Once in a while, you take the car to be checked out. Okay, but if this is an airplane, it has to be checked out much more often. Why? Because an airplane moves much faster than your car. The engines are much stronger. Because you're dealing with much more power, you need to be much more careful about how you handle that power. That's why during the counting of the Omer, which is also the time that we are building ourselves with the Sfirat HaOmer. What's the meaning of Sfirat HaOmer? It means the counting of the Omer. But if you read the words of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that he dictated to Rabbi Abba on the day that he left the world on Lag BaOmer, he says that Sefirah means counting, but it means also in Hebrew illumination. And Omer means a sheaf, a pile of wheat, but Omer is also another word for bright white. So you can say this is the counting of the Omer. What's the Omer? Okay, there's an Omer. What's the Omer? On the Pshat level, on the simple level, on the day of Pesach, the high priest would go with the people outside of the walls of Jerusalem to the field of barley, and he will harvest a bunch, Omer, of barley. Omer, a bunch. Okay? So that's called Omer. Now, on the same day of Pesach in Israel, this is also the time that the wheat fields are blooming. And it takes 49 days from the blooming on Pesach till the harvest on Shavuot. So on Shavuot, the high priest is bringing another offering now of wheat. And that is a bunch Omer of wheat. So between the bunch Omer of barley to the bunch Omer of wheat, there are 49 days. That's a pshat, simple. But we know that whatever happens on the physical earth is a manifestation of something that happens on the spiritual dimension. And Omer, according to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, is also a symbol of the shining white light of the Creator. I don't want to go into details because, if barley and wheat symbolize basically livelihood, so it means that's how the Creator is shining into our lives, but giving us enough bread. And there are two aspects of the bread. First is the more beastly, because who eats barley? Beasts. It's too hard to digest for humans. And who eats the wheat? That grown-ups. And the 49 days is the shift from being a beast till you become a more grown-up person. But in the spiritual level, during these 49 days, the 49 illuminations of bright light that we connect to them till we become grown up enough to receive freedom on Mount Sinai, which is the holiday of Shavuot, which is also the holiday of the harvest of wheat. So we see how the heaven and the earth mirror each other. So that's the month of light. Ziv is more like shining. When do you have shining? And Noga and Zohar, it's more when, if we look at this world, we see the light of the sun, but it's always indirect. What does it mean? What happens to us when we stare at the sun? Our retina will get burned and simply stop functioning. We cannot receive direct light of the sun. It will kill us. So what kind of light do we use? It's a light of the sun, but it's a light that returns from objects. This light we can endure. We can use without being damaged. And the names for these lights of returning light is Ziv, Noga, and Zohar. It's all about names of how the bright light of the source is coming to us in a non-damaging way. How? How do we stop the damage? When we receive for ourselves alone, that's connecting to direct light. That's like looking at the sun. Why? You have to remember, the Creator is endless. His giving is endless. His sharing is unlimited. The only ones who can make a limitation on it is us, the recipients. So on one hand, we are supposed to desire all the light of the Creator because we are meant for that. But we have to be really careful not to be damaged by that. The only way we can have that light staying is by reflecting it. How do we reflect it? When we share with others, when we overcome our nature to receive for ourselves alone that we are born with. And what does it mean, maturity? In Hebrew, gdula, bagut, is all about the ability to overcome the desire to keep it for yourself, very much like Taurus's, and transform it into the only way to keep it is by giving it away. The brain cannot understand it, but the spiritual mind can understand it, because the only thing you can keep is what you share. The same way, the only light you can use in everyday life without damaging your sight is the light that returns from objects. What does it mean? That these objects, they are not working like black holes, which is a symbol of selfishness, but they are reflecting, which means the sunlight hits those objects, and it reflects part of it into our eyes. With that kind of a light, we can live. We can maintain our sight. Same thing. The light of the Creator is projected endlessly, always, everywhere. When we receive it directly, which means I just want to receive everything right now and who cares about the rest, we get burnt. That's how we get high and by. That's when we have really huge success, and the disaster that will follow later is inevitable. These are the rules of the universe. What can we do? How can we save ourselves from that disaster? Is only transforming our nature from selfishness into altruistic. When we are giving to others, when we care for others, we're not doing them a favor. First and for all, we do a favor to ourselves because that is the only thing that will save us from a disaster, which means when you feel fried, like really being in the open fire or even in the frying pan, you want to save yourself and to chill the explosion and the frying, just be focused on doing something good for others. You will see a miracle. The biggest miracles will happen to you because the moment you change it from receiving for yourself alone, which will result inevitably to a fire, frying, and explosion, the moment you change it into sharing, which is water, how do you operate a power station? On one hand, you create huge amount of energy. On the other hand, you use water to chill it. Water is energy of giving and sharing. Taurus, if you see fire, fire, earth, there's no water. For Taurus, it's very hard. But to learn to share and to give and to love and to care, you know what it says? That God always prepares the remedy, always next to the disease. How? What do we learn about Venus? This is the planet of love, right? Love. Oh, but the Greeks spoke about different kind of love. Now the Hebrews spoke about the love towards everyone, the love that is caring for others. This is the love we are talking about. It's already there in planet Venus and in the month of Iyar. How? Let us see that. First of all, why? How come Taurus should be and is the month of love? First of all, the name of the month in Hebrew is Shor, Taurus. And again, Shor, the ox, is a symbol in Kabbalistic systems of the left column. When we're talking about Ezekiel's chariot, there was a face of a lion to the right, and the right column is always giving and sharing and love. And so how comes ox? The ox is the left column. The ox is also a symbol of gvura, judgment. Yes, but he cannot have judgment just by itself because it's self-destructive. And therefore, it says there's a whole legend in the Mishnah, in a Midrash, that says that the world was created with judgment and the judgment did not have rest till one moment. What was that moment? When Isaac was born as the chariot of judgment, and Abraham, his father, the chariot of loving kindness, chesed, bound him. The moment that Abraham bound Isaac, the moment that Isaac, the chariot of the left column of judgment, took upon himself some of the loving kindness of his father, finally, the Midrash is saying the world could come to a rest, to a balance. From that moment on, the cosmic judgment, the cosmic left column, has some kindness and love instilled in it. Otherwise, the world cannot function. And therefore, we go back to numerical values. So, Taurus is Shin Vav Reish. Shin is 300, Vav is 6, Reish is 200, together 506. 506, that is the same numerical value of Ahavat Chinam, unconditional love. Which means, if the Taurus will look deep inside, he will find that dormant gene of unconditional love that every Taurus must awaken that gene. Today they speak about epigenetics, which means there are genes that are dormant in each one of us that by actions and a certain kind of training, you can turn them on and make them viable in your everyday life DNA functioning. But another kind of behavior can make them dormant again. So every Taurus has within himself that gene of unconditional love. You have to wake it up. You have to wake it. So some Taurus are more corrected and they have it inside. And why is it important? Why? Look at it. 506 is also the numerical values of Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Yud, Tav, Tzadik, which is extremely important to understand. Whoever understands, have some Kabbalistic background, knows that the name of 42 letters, which is the core of what is called the prayer of the Ana Bekoach, is made of 7 sequences of 6 letters each. The first of them, which is connected to the Sephirah of Chesed, loving kindness, Aleph Bet is Aleph Bet Gimel Yud Tav Tzadik. It is also numerical value 506, 506. This one is Chesed. If you want to awaken within yourself that energy of unconditional love, that unconditional love that existed in the universe before the Big Bang, before the Tzimtzum, when everything was one, this is the letters permutation that you need to meditate upon, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Yud, Tav, Tzadik, which is the first sequence of the Ana Bekoach. Again, numerical value 506, which is Shor, Taurus. And it's also the same letters of Vav, Shin, Reish, okay, which is the numeric, which is which one of the 72 names. That of course it is the power of giving and sharing and love. Vav Shin Reish, one of the 72 names of God. You can find it in the 72 names of God. It's on the 4th line from the top, on the left column, the first column from the left. That's where you find the Vav Shin Reish, unconditional love. So we have that. So on one hand, you see in Taurus, judgment, 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 selfishness, selfishness, selfishness. And most Tauruses that I know, they're like this. It's all about, but if you have the ability to connect to so much light, you have that ability also to love. Because when you connect to spiritual light, you can turn it easily to love. Think about it. People are hungry spiritually. People are sitting in the dark because they are constipated, because they're blocked, whatever, because they cannot connect to light. They cannot even love and care and share because you cannot give what you do not have. So that's why you say that there are no bad people. There are only people that feel evil, that feel bad. And you cannot give what you don't have. So when you feel in the dark, then that's what you can give to others. Pain and sorrow and darkness. But if you're full of light, because Taurus is a month of light. And by the way, whatever I say about the month of, I say about the people that are Taurus and the month of Taurus, I say that everyone, whoever is not even a Taurus, goes through the same things during this month. So reaching that awareness of universal awareness of love and light and understanding that real wisdom means giving to others, caring for others, is the most selfish thing that you can do. Because if you're wise, you know that whatever you take for yourself, this is the most stupid, unwise thing in the world. Why? It's like you're sticking your finger in the socket, especially in the month of Iyar. If being selfish is sticking your finger in the socket. And don't be surprised you're going to be electrocuted. Why? It's a very high intensity, high voltage. That's what this world is about. You want it for yourself, it's going to explode in your face. You want it to stay, you want it high, you want it light, you want it exciting, you must inject unconditional love. And why unconditional love? Why love is not enough? Oh, that's very important. Because when you love others and you care for others, most people make a big mistake. They love others and they expect something in return. What happens when you expect something in return? It's a huge transgression. Remember the three elements of being a creator? One of the elements is being independent. The moment you give to someone and you expect something in return, you are a slave because his reaction enslaves you. You're anticipating a reaction, you're anticipating a reward, you're anticipating some kind of acknowledgement. The moment you fall into that, you're out of, you're out of the system. Don't be surprised that it doesn't work. Yeah, but I gave so much. How come? If you gave with strings attached, don't be surprised. You'll be punished for that. God is going to punish you. No, it's sticking your finger in the socket. So if you can't give unconditionally, don't give. Don't give. Or give anyway, knowing somehow it's going to come around. What goes around comes around. That's why it's called unconditional love, not just simply love. But Iyar, the month of Iyar, is also known to be the month of healing. Why? First of all, love is the most powerful healing force in the world, the only healing force in the world. You really want to heal, you have to understand that the word machala, okay, disease, in Hebrew, can only be healed when you have mechila. Same letters exactly. Mechila means forgiveness, and chemla means compassion. All diseases come from a place, a sore place within us that we cannot forgive anyone, someone. When you blame somebody, remember what I'm teaching all the time? One finger points at that person that he is the cause. What's wrong blaming somebody else? You're not independent. His wrongdoing control your life. Till he changes, my life is still doomed. Illegal. There's no solution for that. The only solution is be independent. Whatever they do, nothing affects me. But there's another thing. You see that? The thumb. Okay? God, how come you allowed him to do this to me? So when we blame others, it's bad-mouthing the creator, bad-mouthing the creation. It's like saying, God, whatever you created, it doesn't make sense. It's going in the wrong direction. No, it's not. It always goes the right direction. Whenever we fall, whenever we get hit, it's always to wake us up. There's always a good side to it. And we have to be always in that state of mind that whatever happened, it's for the good. You know what happens? Just think about it. You don't be spiritual. Don't believe in God. Don't believe in anything. Just logically, if everything that happens to somebody, you always interpret it as a good sign, and you always get more excited. It's a sign that something good is going to happen. What are the chances that your life is going to be a great success? Statistics already show that. Thousands and thousands of researchers proven that people that think like this, that are optimistic, that always see the bright side of reality, they live longer, they stay healthier, they make more money, they are more successful in life, they are more lucky. That's very simple scientifically, because it's a prophecy that turns to fulfill itself. You're always excited about life. You know, who do you want to do business with? Who do you want to marry with? People are always complaining, complainers, moaners, uh, mourners. You know, who wants to be with them? Who wants to do business with them? Who wants to buy from them? Who wants to be around them? And the moment you're alone, it's horrible. And again, when people are really excited, they have less chances to lose their immune system and to get sick. That's simple logic. So blaming God will turn you sick because you're bad mouthing the creator, the creation. This is the worst thing you could do. One of the biggest problem that we did not fix yet from the Exodus is when the spies badmouthed the land of Israel. And they said, Eretz ochelet yoshvea. It's a land that consumes its inhabitants. This curse follows us till today. When we cannot appreciate all the bliss that the Creator gives us, of course you can't enjoy it. Of course, it will blemish you. You become a leopard forever because metzora, leprosy, is not a physical medical disease. It's a mental disease of lack of appreciation. People who do appreciate, I know it from, people do appreciate everything. They tend to be so lucky. It's like there's no limits of the luck that follows them. But people are always blaming and always complaining and always find like, God, why are you doing this to me? The good luck cannot follow them. Because in Hebrew, the word mazal, someone translated to luck, it means flow in Hebrew. Nozel, it's the flow of bliss. How do you connect to it? Appreciation. So, in the end of the story of the splitting of the Red Sea in Parashat Beshalach, there is an amazing verse. Exodus 15:26. And it says, Vayomer im shamot ishma lekol Adonai Elohecha. וישר בעיניו תעשה והאזנת למצוותיו ושמעת כל חוקיו. כל המחלה ששמתי במצרים לא אשים עליך כי אני אדוני אלוהיך. After the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, and each one of them experienced a prophetic level of awareness like no prophet ever experienced from that moment on. Okay? But a few days later, there were no water, and everybody started to complain without saying, if God brought us over here, there must be a solution somewhere. Sometimes we can't see, we forget. The temporary the temporary discomfort get us out, and the fear gets us blind. But you receive so much. Sooner or later, there's going to be some solution. And God chose Moses a tree. And that sweetens the water from bitter to sweet. What tree is that? Asked the Zohar. The tree of life. When we connect to the tree of life, what is it? How do you connect to the tree of life? By transforming selfishness into altruism. By saying, I want everything. All the pleasure the Creator created, I want it, but in one condition, so I can share it with others. This is legal. If you want it for yourself only, this is illegal. So that is called the tree of life consciousness. Tree of knowledge means what's good for them is bad for me. If I give them, I have nothing left for me. If I have it for myself, it's going to be good for me, so it's going to be bad for them. Who cares? That's illusion. That's a lie that the physical world is teaching us. Big lie, big fat lie, vicious lie. That's what the world of materialism is teaching us. But if you want to be excited and happy about life and rich, you have to make sure that other people have that same good luck as you, good fortune that you have. So This sentence in Exodus 15:26 says, if you listen to the Lord your God, and you just follow all of those mitzvot, all of these connections and wisdom, and you go by the laws, which the first law is don't be selfish. On one hand, you're supposed to be excited and happy about life. You're supposed to be fortunate, but never just for yourself. If you do that and you follow that, every disease, all of the diseases that I put on Egypt, in Egypt, I will never put on you because I'm God, your healer. And what's special about that is that this is the verse of healing in the whole Tanakh. What's special about it? That the words Ani Hashem Rofecha, for I am the Lord who heals you, or God that is your healer. Its initials Iyar. So the secret here in this month, that this is the month of healing. And what can heal? Light and love can heal. On one hand, when you say it's okay to receive, it's okay to be happy. I don't need to suppress. I don't need to subdue my desire for happiness and for love. On one hand, but on the other hand, I need to love. I need to be there for others. And therefore, the whole story. Now, we have two big events during the month of Iyar. We have on the 14th of Iyar, it's an anniversary of Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. On the 18th, like Ba'omer, it's an anniversary of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And we know that from the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, that each one of them was a huge, great sage, and they died during the Omer because they did not love each other. Only few of them survived, and the two most famous of them passed on to the next world on the month of Iyar. We don't know about the others. Why is that so important? Because the ones who survived are the ones that really internalized the wisdom of love. Because the wisdom of love, the wisdom of forgiveness, the wisdom of compassion can be attained during this month. It's a wisdom. It's not just, weak people, they love others. The real like winners, they don't care about anyone. They just take. No, the takers are also the most sick people in the world. Because just think about it. I never met happy, selfish people. The more selfish they were and the more successful they were, the more psychotic, neurotic, sick they've been. Who wants that? The healing for every disease is, on one hand, the fire that I want to be creative, I want to have, I want to achieve, I want to know, I want to grow, I want to be wise. That big engine. On the other hand, it's only in one condition: caring and sharing for others. You know, we can see even today we have another celebration during this month, which is 2 days in the history, later history of the Jewish people. You have Israel's Independence Day and the Day of Liberation of Jerusalem. Both are in the month of Iyar. And what's so special about them? Because when did we lose Jerusalem? We lost Jerusalem in the destruction of the temple, but we lost Jerusalem because of hatred for no reason. Sinat chinam. What is the tikkun right now? Is a tikkun of the month of Iyar, ahavat chinam, numerical value, Iyar, Eshor, Taurus. This is the thing, to turn all the physical lust, the physical desires, greed, the desire for knowledge, for power, for whatever, to turn it into unconditional love. This is the biggest tikkun of our generation, of all of humanity. The biggest tikkun, to learn how to love unconditionally. You know what? In a way, it was never in history, like today, that people at least speak about it, think about it, see it as a goal and as a vision. Till not long ago, nobody even thought that it's an option. You know what? Where maybe during the 15th century, like Renaissance, there were few people like, the crazy ones, like Sir Isaac Newton, like Leibniz. They had this utopia. One day the whole world will love each other. How did they get this idea? From studying the Zohar secretly. It was not allowed at the time. The Catholic Church will kill you if they know. But they took it from the Zohar. But it was just very few people. But humanism and modern history is based more and more about it. And you see more and more that, even if people fake unconditional love, they come out with, all kinds of ideas of unconditional love, but you check them really, they are corrupt. They just preach for unconditional love, but they really care about making more money. Because when you talk about unconditional love, people will give you money. Gullible people. You have to check where you give the money, if they follow their act, correct? But still, this is a real strong political movement of loving others, okay? Having compassion to others, okay? I'm not going to go into these details, but still, Taurus is very practical, okay? That's a very powerful healing, because they will check if somebody says, I love everybody, I care for everybody. They will check, is this practical? Are you really following your words? Are you really applying it? Because the Taurus, it's very hard for them to buy nonsense. They always try to see if it's practical, not just, talking hot air. So, of course, we have so much to talk about when we're speaking about the month of Iyar and Taurus. But we didn't speak about two things that I did need to, I promised to speak about it. We know that Venus, Noga, has been created according to the Zohar, to the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, that Jewish tradition says Abraham, the patriarch, wrote it, that the letter Pei, that's about Venus, the letter Pei created Venus. What's so special about Venus? And it's amazing when you look at it. Yes, there are two aspects for Noga. Two aspects. If you look at the way the letter Pei is written, just, use your imagination, and you see the Zohar says it looks like a snake rolling himself and hiding his head within. Okay? Just look, you see it's like the body. If you have a rich imagination, you see the body, and you see that line in the middle of the body of the Pei. This is the head of the snake, which means it's a poisonous snake. Why? Because all the love of Venus, all the creativity, all the aesthetics, whatever, can go towards materialistic love, which means the love of the physical joy and of the physical body. Okay, this is a danger of the snake. But when you overcome that, you reveal something miraculous. Because if you look inside the Pei, you see there the shape of the Hebrew letter Bet, which means when you overcome over the artificial aspect of Taurus and Venus, which means the love for whatever is physical, whatever is beautiful in the physical level, when you overcome that and you turn it into a spiritual love and caring for others, you will reveal the letter Bet. The letter Bet is a symbol of true blessing, true blessing. True blessing is there lying within the Torah. And that's why the Torah starts with the letter Bet. Now, what's on the left of it? That's the letter Vav. The Torah is the symbol of the letter Vav is the Torah, the connection between heaven and earth. As the Vav is that line that connects between the two. Not just this, every column in the Torah looks like a Vav. And in all over the Torah, except from 5 places, all the columns in the Torah starts with the letter Vav. Again, what is the Torah? The Torah is about the spiritual elevation that you can find it inside the month of Taurus, that is so much like the spirituality. One condition, loving other people unconditionally as a way of living. And therefore, Rabbi Ashlag is saying, if you really want to know that you are following the true path of spirituality, dedicate as much of your time towards helping other people, because you're doing favor first and foremost for yourself, and by arousing that frequency, that's the highest level of wisdom, and that is coming back to Italel Askel V'Yado. Now, so what is the verse we have in the bottom? Chasim Kadosh Berov Tuvcha Nahel Adatecha. This is the 5th line of the Ana Bekoach prayer. The initials are Chet Kuf Bet Tet Nun Ayin, and these letters combination, they rule over Venus and Taurus as another sequence to help us to elevate ourselves to a place in which we can gain so much love, unity, and care during this month, because when you are full of light, it's so much easier to love and to care, to be generous, and to be happy about life and thankful, which are the most powerful tools of healing. Thank you so much, and have an amazing month of healing and enlightenment.